Every morning, I used to wake up, already feeling behind. Like I was chasing a life that kept slipping through my fingers. But then I started whispering 9 simple truths to myself, and everything changed. Most people over 40 feel the same quiet ache. We've lived long enough to carry regrets. We've worked hard, but not always smart. And now, we ask, is this it? Or can life still bloom? The ancient Stoics believed, it is not that life is short, but that we waste much of it. Seneca. So I decided to stop wasting mine. I wrote down 9 things to tell myself every day. Not motivational fluff, but powerful Stoic affirmations. Not to feel better but to live better. Lesson 1, I am capable. I used to wake up with a weight on my chest. Not pain, not fear. Just this quiet, heavy feeling that somehow, I wasn't enough. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, and all the unfinished things from yesterday would flood back into my mind. The email I didn't send. The conversation I avoided. The project I didn't finish again. And under it all, that voice. You know the one. The one that says, you're falling behind. You're not strong enough. You can't handle this. It took me years, decades, even to realize that voice wasn't telling the truth. It was just echoing my old fears. Fears I'd picked up from failures, from other people's expectations, from a world that loves to measure worth by youth, speed, and success. But I'm over 40 now. And something shifted. One morning, while reading Marcus Aurelius, I came across a line that stopped me in my tracks. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That morning, I closed the book. I stood in front of the mirror. And I said to myself, softly at first, I am capable. Not perfect. Not finished. But capable. Capable of making today better than yesterday. Capable of handling what's in front of me even if I do it scared. Capable of learning, adapting, and moving forward, one steady breath at a time. Let me tell you a simple story. There was a day not long ago when my car broke down, halfway to a meeting I'd spent weeks preparing for. It was raining, my phone was dying, and my shirt was soaked. I could feel the old panic rising, the self-doubt, the helplessness. But instead of spiraling, I paused. I took a breath, and reminded myself, I am capable. I called for help. I rescheduled. I handled it. Not with brilliance, but with calm. And that was enough. You see, being capable isn't about always having the answers. It's about trusting that you'll figure it out when it matters. That you've survived hard things before, and you can do it again. If you're listening to this and you're over 40, maybe you know that feeling too. That creeping doubt that says you missed your chance. That you're too late to start over. Too tired to try again. But here's the truth, you are not too late. You are right on time. Because now, you know more. You've lived more. And your strength is no longer in what you show, it's in what you endure. So, the next time that voice starts whispering in your mind telling you that you can't, that you're not enough, you look back at all the things you've come through. All the storms you've weathered. All the days you got up when it would have been easier to stay down. And you tell yourself, out loud if you must, I am capable. Let that be your anchor. Your starting point. The calm voice that steadies you when the world gets too loud. And once you believe that you are truly capable, you'll be ready for the next step, shaping your own reality. Because once you believe in your power, you begin to use it. Lesson 2, I shape my reality. There was a time when I truly believed that life was something that happened to me. I didn't see myself as a participant, just a passenger. Always reacting, always adjusting, always surviving. I'd wake up, scroll the news, check my inbox, and already feel drained. One email could ruin my whole mood. One person's bad energy could ruin my whole day. I blamed traffic, bills, politics, even the weather, for how I felt on the inside. But deep down, I knew it wasn't the outside world that was the problem. It was the way I interpreted it. Then I came across a passage by Epictetus: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." At first, I thought it sounded too simple. But the more I lived with it, the more it made sense. Think about this: two people lose their job on the same day. One spirals into despair. The other says, "Maybe this is my chance to finally do what I love." Same event. Different meaning. Different outcome. That's when it hit me: I shape my reality. Not with magic, but with meaning. Let me tell you a personal moment that changed everything. A few years ago, I missed my daughter's piano recital. It wasn't because I didn't care, it was because work called, and I made the wrong choice. When I walked through the door that night and saw the look in her eyes, I felt like the worst father in the world. I wanted to blame my boss. Blame the schedule. Blame anything. But instead, I owned it. I sat down, held her hand, and told her the truth: I messed up. But I want to do better. We cried together. Then we laughed. And that night, we played a duet on the kitchen table using just spoons. You see, reality is not what happens. Reality is the story we choose to tell about what happens. I could have told myself, "I'm a failure as a father." Instead, I told myself, "I made a mistake, but I'm choosing a better story starting now." That's how we shape our lives. Not by controlling every event, but by choosing what those events mean to us. Marcus Aurelius put it best: the universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it. When I started embracing this mindset, everything shifted. The traffic jam became time to breathe. The cancelled meeting became a chance to reconnect with my wife. The criticism became a mirror, not a weapon. You're not powerless. Even if your circumstances feel chaotic, you have one thing that can never be taken from you: your response. And when you change your response, you change your reality. So each morning, I now take a deep breath and say, I shape my reality. Not as wishful thinking, but as a reminder that I am not just reacting anymore, I am creating. And when you live this way, you stop waiting for life to get easier, and you start becoming stronger. You begin to notice the space between the event and your reaction. And in that space is where your freedom lives. So the next time something doesn't go your way, pause. Breathe. And remind yourself, this doesn't define me. But how I respond, will. That's the power Stoicism gives us, not to escape life, but to engage with it, deliberately. And once you take ownership of your reality, you begin to walk forward with clarity. Which brings us to the next truth I tell myself each morning: my path is clear. Because once you know who you are, you begin to see where you're going. Lesson 3, my path is clear. There's a strange kind of fog that settles in around middle age. It's not always heavy. Sometimes, it's barely noticeable, just a soft haze that makes everything feel uncertain. I remember when it hit me. I was 44. Had a decent job, a roof over my head, a family that loved me. From the outside, it looked like I had it all figured out. But inside, I felt like I was drifting. Not sinking, but not really sailing, either. Just floating. I'd go through the motions, answer emails, pay bills, smile in meetings. But every now and then, I'd catch my own reflection and think, where are you even going? I didn't have an answer. And that terrified me. That's when I stumbled upon a quote by Seneca. It was simple, but it hit like a hammer: if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. I read it again. Then again. That night, I turned off my phone, sat down with a notebook, and asked myself a question I hadn't faced in years: what do I truly want from the rest of my life? Not what I'm supposed to want. Not what others expect. But what I want deep down. It took time. Hours turned into days. But slowly, something began to form. Not a detailed plan, but a direction. I realized I wanted less noise. More honesty. Work that felt meaningful. Time that felt mine. I wasn't lost. I was just off course. And I needed to steer again. Now, each morning when I wake up, before the day gets loud, I whisper to myself, my path is clear. Even if it's foggy outside, I know where I'm going inside. It doesn't mean I won't get distracted, or that I won't take wrong turns. But I have a compass now, and that changes everything. Let me give you an example. A few months ago, I was offered a higher paying job at another company. On paper, it looked great. More money. Bigger title. But it also meant more stress, less time with family, and a return to the kind of hustle that nearly broke me years ago. 5 years ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. But now, I paused. I looked at my compass. And it pointed me elsewhere. I turned it down. And I slept well that night. You see, clarity isn't just about knowing what to chase. It's about knowing what to walk away from. When your path is clear, you stop chasing everything and start focusing on what truly matters. You begin to trust yourself. To move with intention. To say yes with your whole heart, and no without guilt. That's the beauty of Stoic thinking. It doesn't tell you what to want. It simply asks, what's in your control? What do you value? And are you walking in alignment with those values? So if you're feeling stuck, don't panic. Don't force clarity. Instead, sit still. Be honest. And listen. The fog will lift. The path will appear. And when it does, whisper to yourself, my path is clear. That quiet confidence will carry you through uncertainty, through setbacks, through storms. And as you walk that path, remember this next truth, one I hold close every day: I grow stronger daily. Because clarity gives direction, but strength gives you the courage to keep walking it. Lesson 4, I grow stronger daily. I used to think strength meant being unshakable. Always composed. Always certain. Like nothing could touch me. But the truth is, that image isn't real. Real strength isn't loud. It doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from facing what's not fine, and showing up anyway. I learned that the hard way. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting alone in my car after dropping my son off at school. For some reason, I didn't drive away. I just sat there. And I started crying. Not a breakdown. Just a slow unraveling. From stress. From holding it all together. From feeling like I had to be strong for everyone, while quietly falling apart myself. That was the day I realized something important. I'd been measuring my strength by how much I could carry. But Stoicism taught me to measure it by how much I could let go. I remembered something Seneca once said: difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. That's when the idea clicked: strength isn't a moment, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with use. From that day forward, I started tracking strength differently. Not by how much I achieved, but by how I responded to everyday moments. When I chose to speak calmly instead of snapping, that was strength. When I got up early to take a walk, even when I didn't feel like it, that was strength. When I apologized to my wife after a disagreement, even though pride told me not to, that, too, was strength. Not perfect. Not polished. But powerful, in the quiet way that growth often is. Now, every morning, I say to myself, I grow stronger daily. It reminds me that I don't have to be at my best every single moment. I just have to keep growing. To be a little more patient than yesterday. A little more courageous. A little more honest, especially with myself. And I'll tell you something beautiful about this journey. Once you stop expecting perfection, you start noticing progress. The small wins become visible. You stop beating yourself up for not leaping forward and start celebrating that you're still moving. Some days, you'll take 3 steps forward. Other days, you'll fall flat. But even that fall is part of the process. Because true strength isn't about how far you go, it's about how deeply you grow. One of the biggest changes I've noticed since embracing this idea? I've become more compassionate. Not just with others, but with myself. I've stopped calling myself names in my own mind. Stopped rushing to judgment. Stopped punishing myself for being human. That's the quiet strength Stoicism offers us. Not the kind you show off, but the kind you carry inward. And when you live like that, when you remind yourself, I grow stronger daily, you start to trust that every challenge is shaping you, not breaking you. You become more resilient. More centered. And oddly enough, more at peace. Because now you're no longer racing. You're walking. Step by step. Rooted. Grounded. Growing. And as you walk this steady path, gaining strength from every stumble and every sunrise, you'll come to a powerful realization: the goal is not to be the best. The goal is to honor your journey. And when you do that consistently, you naturally begin to raise your standards. Which brings me to the next truth I whisper every morning: I commit to excellence. Because strength gives you the tools. But excellence shows you how to use them. Lesson 5, I commit to excellence. There was a time not too long ago when I confused excellence with perfection. I thought committing to excellence meant never making mistakes. Always performing. Always winning. But that belief exhausted me. Because no matter how hard I tried, I always felt like I was falling short. Then one evening, while reading Marcus Aurelius, I found this line: waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That sentence struck me like thunder. It wasn't about appearing excellent. It was about being excellent quietly, consistently, deeply. Not for applause. Not for recognition. But because it's who I choose to be. Since turning 40, I've begun seeing life through a different lens. I no longer care about looking successful, I care about being true to myself. Being reliable. Being present. Being excellent, in the little things. Let me tell you a story. It was a Thursday morning. Nothing special. I was in line at the grocery store. The man in front of me was elderly, slow, a little confused, struggling to count his change. People behind me were sighing. Impatient. I felt it too. But then something softened in me. I remembered my father in his later years, how even small tasks became mountains for him. So I leaned forward and said, "Take your time. You're doing just fine." Then I smiled. And waited. That moment wasn't big. But it was excellent. Excellence, I've learned, lives in the quiet corners. In how you treat a stranger. In how you speak when no one's listening. In whether you finish what you start, even when no one's watching. When I say, I commit to excellence, I'm not declaring I'll always win. I'm declaring that I'll always show up with intention. That I'll choose integrity over ease. Presence over distraction. Effort over excuses. And yes, there are days when I fall short. When I lose patience. When I slack off. When I slip back into old habits. But commitment doesn't mean perfection. It means beginning again every day. So I wake up and say it, even when I don't feel like it, I commit to excellence. And that simple line pulls me back into alignment. It reminds me that I don't need to compete with others, I need to compete with yesterday's version of me. I don't need to be better than you, I need to be better than who I was last week. And that's enough. The Stoics weren't interested in showy success. They valued virtue, effort, purpose. They believed a good life wasn't measured in achievements, but in how you live and why. So ask yourself, can you be a little more present today? A little more honest? A little more patient, generous, curious? That's excellence. Not the end goal but the way you walk the path. And here's the beautiful part, when you walk that path long enough, with enough honesty and commitment, you become someone who others can count on. Someone who holds steady in chaos. Someone whose quiet discipline becomes contagious. That's the kind of excellence I want. And it begins, not with grand gestures, but with small, daily choices. So say it with me, if you're ready, I commit to excellence. Even if it's imperfect. Even if no one sees it. Even if it takes time. Because the longer you commit to that truth, the more it starts to shape your character. And once you begin living that way, you also begin to reject what holds you back. Which brings me to the next lesson. A hard one but a necessary one: excuses do not define me. Because excellence requires effort. But effort requires ownership. Lesson 6, excuses do not define me. I used to be really good at making excuses. I didn't call them that, of course. I called them reasons. Good explanations. Perfectly valid justifications. Like, I'm too tired. It's not the right time. I'm just not built for this. Maybe next week, next year, someday. And for a while, I believed those lines. Because they kept me safe. Safe from failure. Safe from embarrassment. Safe from growth. But also, safe from becoming the man I wanted to be. You see, excuses are soft. They comfort you. They make you feel better temporarily. But over time, they steal from you. They take your potential, little by little. And they leave you with regret. I remember one afternoon, a few years back, my son asked me to play catch. Just 15 minutes. But I had emails, phone calls, work to do. So I said, maybe later, buddy. And I watched the light in his face dim. He said, okay, and walked outside alone. That night, I stared at the ceiling and thought, what did I really choose today? I didn't choose responsibility. I chose an excuse. And I lost a moment I'll never get back. That was the beginning of the shift. I remembered a teaching from Epictetus: it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. And I realized, my excuse wasn't about time. It was about fear. Fear that I'd never get everything done. Fear that I couldn't balance life. Fear that if I failed at one thing, it would all fall apart. But Stoicism doesn't leave room for fear to drive the ship. It teaches us to look clearly. To act deliberately. To take full ownership of our lives. So now, each time I catch myself saying, I can't, or I don't have time, I pause. And I ask, is this really true? Or am I letting myself off the hook? Because here's what I've learned: excuses might feel like relief in the moment. But over time, they become a prison. A small, quiet box you build around your own potential. That's why every morning, I stand still for just a moment and say, excuses do not define me. That's my contract with myself. A reminder that I'm not here to make excuses, I'm here to make progress. Even if it's slow. Even if I fail. Even if it's uncomfortable. Because every time I choose to show up instead of shut down, I grow. Every time I do the hard thing, when no one would blame me for walking away, I build something stronger inside. This isn't about hustle culture. This isn't about being tough. It's about being honest. Honest enough to admit when I've been hiding. And brave enough to step forward anyway. And you know what happens when you live this way? You begin to respect yourself. Not for being perfect, but for being responsible. For showing up. For trying again. For becoming the kind of person your younger self needed and your older self will be proud of. So if you've been holding back, if there's something you've been telling yourself you can't do, pause, breathe, and ask, is this an obstacle or an excuse? You might be surprised by the answer. And once you let go of the excuses, you'll start to feel lighter, more focused, more free. Because when you stop letting excuses define you, you start defining yourself. And that's when something powerful begins to unfold, a sense of confidence that doesn't need to be proven. A quiet strength that others can feel. A purpose that radiates from the inside out. And from that space, you begin to reconnect with something deeper. Not just performance, but potential. Which leads me into the next truth, a declaration I once found hard to say, but now hold close to my heart: I am designed for greatness. Because when you stop making excuses, you start making room for everything you were truly meant to become. Lesson 7, I am designed for greatness. There was a season in my life not that long ago when I stopped dreaming. I didn't even notice it at first. It was subtle. Just a quiet resignation that crept in. Like dust gathering in corners. Like forgetting the sound of your own laughter. Somewhere between the job deadlines, the unpaid bills, the disappointments, and the long nights of quiet exhaustion, I stopped believing I was meant for anything more than just getting by. And then one evening, while sitting in the garage cleaning out an old box of papers, I found a note I wrote to myself when I was 17. It was messy. Folded 4 times. Written in blue ink on lined paper. But the words were clear. I want to do something that matters. I want to be someone who helps people feel less alone. I want to make things that last. I stared at it for a long time. Not because the dream felt too big, but because I'd let it become small. I'd traded wonder for routine, purpose for comfort, meaning for motion. And it made me ask myself, when did I stop believing I was built for more than survival? Later that night, I remembered a quote from Marcus Aurelius: "You were born to do what is right. Don't allow your mind to be a slave." And I realized, maybe greatness wasn't about fame, or wealth, or applause. Maybe greatness is about alignment. Living so closely to your values that people can feel your integrity just by being around you. Maybe greatness is becoming the kind of person who raises the energy of every room you walk into, not by force, but by presence. Since that moment, I started whispering one line to myself every morning: I am designed for greatness. At first, it felt awkward. Like wearing a suit that didn't quite fit. But the more I said it, the more I began to remember who I was before the world told me to play small. Greatness doesn't mean never being afraid. It means acting in spite of fear. It means speaking with courage when silence would be safer. It means showing kindness when cruelty is easier. It means giving your best, even when no one sees it. Being over 40 has given me one gift above all: clarity. Clarity that time is precious. That energy is sacred. That who I choose to be now, is who I'll be remembered as later. I no longer chase someone else's definition of success. I choose my own definition of greatness: being present at the dinner table. Apologizing with sincerity. Building something quietly that serves others. Saying no when I need to protect my peace. Saying yes when it's time to be brave. You are not here by accident. There is something about you, your story, your voice, your experience that the world needs. And it's never too late. Not at 40. Not at 60. Not even at 80. Because the seed of greatness doesn't care about your age, only about your willingness to nurture it. So I say it again: I am designed for greatness. Not to impress, but to serve. Not to rise above others, but to rise above who I used to be. And once you start living with that truth in your chest, you stop seeking permission. You stop hiding. You start stepping forward, not louder, but deeper. And when you do that, you stop being controlled by outside noise. Which brings me to the next lesson, the one that anchors me in a world full of opinions. External opinions do not sway me. Because once you know who you are, you stop needing the world to remind you. Lesson 8, external opinions do not sway me. There's something strange that happens after 40. You stop trying to please everyone, but for some reason, you still care what they think. You still wonder what they're saying when you leave the room. You still replay that awkward moment in your head. You still shrink a little when someone questions your choices, your values, your timing. Even after all this time, the opinions of others can sneak in like a cold draft, just enough to make you uncomfortable, but not enough to make you stand up and close the window. I've lived that tension for years. Trying to be kind, yet firm. Open, yet grounded. Seen, but not controlled. Until one day, I heard a quote that changed me. It was from Marcus Aurelius. He wrote, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." I read it again. And I felt a little embarrassed. Because it was true. I was letting people who barely knew me have the loudest voices in my mind. And worse, I was letting them shape how I saw myself. So I made a quiet decision that day. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just personal. I will build my own inner citadel. That's what the Stoics called it, the inner fortress. A place inside you that no judgment, no opinion, no gossip can touch. It's not about arrogance. It's not about being closed off. It's about being centered. So now, when someone questions my choices, why I changed careers, why I spend more time at home, why I speak slower and listen longer, I smile. Because they're not living my life. I am. And I no longer need their approval to feel whole. Let me give you a small example. A few months ago, a former co-worker saw me at a bookstore. He looked surprised. "Didn't think you were the type to just walk away from the corporate world," he said. Before, I would have defended myself. Explained everything. Tried to justify. But that day, I just nodded and said, "Yeah, it wasn't for me anymore. But I'm happier now." And I walked away. Light. Free. Because I've realized this, people's opinions are just reflections of their own fears, expectations, and insecurities. What they see in you is often more about them than it is about you. And when you really accept that, you stop arguing. You stop performing. You stop shrinking. You just live. Authentically. Quietly. With integrity. That's what Stoicism invites us to do. To come home to ourselves. To honor the still voice within over the shouting voices outside. So each morning now, I say, external opinions do not sway me. Not because I'm better than anyone. But because I finally trust myself. And that trust it's earned. From years of showing up. From learning through mistakes. From choosing peace over praise. And purpose over popularity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the quiet, beautiful life you're building. And the more you walk in that truth, the more magnetic you become. Not because you're seeking attention, but because you're living in alignment. And people can feel that, even if they don't understand it. So let them talk. Let them guess. Let them misunderstand. You keep walking. You keep growing. Because that kind of freedom, the kind that comes from within, is worth more than anyone's approval. And when you finally stop chasing opinions, you start embracing what's right in front of you. Which brings me to the last truth I whisper each morning: I embrace the present moment. Because once the noise fades, all that's left is now. Lesson 9, I embrace the present moment. There was a time in my life when the past had a tighter grip on me than the present ever did. I'd lie awake at night thinking about old mistakes, words I shouldn't have said, chances I didn't take, people I lost because I wasn't brave enough to love them fully. And if it wasn't the past weighing me down, it was the future pulling me forward. What if I don't have enough? What if I fail again? What if time runs out? That's the thing about living in your head. You become a visitor in your own life. One day, my daughter, she was maybe 9, was sitting next to me on the couch, telling me about a story she wrote at school. I was nodding, smiling. But I wasn't really there. My mind was somewhere in an email I hadn't sent, a bill I hadn't paid, a decision I hadn't made. Then she stopped mid-sentence and looked at me. She said, "Dad, you're not here." And she was right. I was physically present but emotionally absent. That moment broke something in me. And maybe it healed something too. Later that night, I opened a worn copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And I read, "Do not let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Do not dwell in the future. Live in the present always." I read it 3 times. Then I closed the book, sat in silence, and let that truth sink in. Since that day, I've been learning to return. Return to now. To the breath I'm taking. To the ground beneath my feet. To the warm mug in my hand, the song on the radio, the laugh of someone I love in the next room. It's not always easy. The mind is tricky, it drifts, it clings, it worries. But every morning, before the world has a chance to pull me in 100 directions, I say to myself, I embrace the present moment. Not because it's always pleasant, but because it's real. The present is the only place where life is actually happening. Where growth unfolds. Where healing begins. Where joy, however quiet, waits patiently to be noticed. And if you're over 40 like me, you know that life speeds up. Years blur. And what used to feel like forever now slips by like morning fog. But here's the gift we often forget we've been given, we still have now. This conversation. This breath. This chance to begin again. You don't need to fix the past before you can be present. And you don't need to have the future figured out to find peace now. You just need to return. Return to your body. To your senses. To the moment unfolding right in front of you. I've learned that being present doesn't mean life gets easier. But it becomes more vivid. More meaningful. More yours. So now, when I sip my morning coffee, I taste it. When my wife speaks, I listen, really listen. When I watch the sunset, I don't take a picture. I just stand there, and breathe. Because that's where life is. Not in the regrets. Not in the what-ifs. But here. Now. And as you let go of what was, and stop chasing what could be, you begin to see the beauty of what is. So say it with me, I embrace the present moment. Hold it. Feel it. Live it. Because it's all we ever really have. And it's more than enough. Person in lotus position. This is the final lesson I tell myself every morning. But it's not the end. It's the beginning of a different kind of living, one rooted in awareness, simplicity, and calm strength. If you've stayed with me through all 9 lessons, thank you. Truly. Now let's close this journey in the next section, with a reflection to carry in your heart, and a reminder that the journey continues. You don't need a new year to start over. You just need a new thought. A new morning. A new whisper. Every day, you have the chance to speak life into yourself. With truth. With wisdom. With stoic calm. Tell yourself what matters. And then live like you mean it. Green circle if this message helped you today, like this video, comment your favorite lesson below, and subscribe to join this journey of deeper living. 10 Stoic Habits to Master Self-Control, Even in Chaos. Rightward arrow. Watch this video next to learn how to stay grounded, No matter what life throws at you.